What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 2 Times the Grind. Welcome to episode 37 of our podcast, and happy Thursday. Hope everyone is having a great morning so far. If you are an early riser and you already have a cup of coffee in your hand and you're sitting down joining us for the beginning of the podcast drop-in, then good morning to you, and I hope that you have a wonderful day at work or wherever you are going on this fine morning. Paige,
hello,
welcome.
Thank you.
You are very, very welcome. I'm going to turn you down just a little bit because you are a little bit loud. Just a little bit.
My bad.
That's all right. I think that's a little bit better. You just have a demanding voice, a loud voice. So it needs the, it needs all of the volume. So we have a fair amount to talk about today.
Yeah.
And a few of those being the fact that we have tournament coming up, a big tournament coming up actually.
The last one before the LAN.
We're really on that home stretch to the major. I feel like it has been so long that we have been talking about the lead up to this major, and I'm excited about next week's episode because we're going to actually talk a lot about stuff to do with LAN and how to prepare and what to expect at a LAN, and we're going to go over all that good stuff. But for this week, it's going to be more about the preparations about qualifiers and around, you know, how to overcome certain weaknesses that teams have at the moment and how to best prepare to try and abolish those weaknesses as you head into the next big thing, which of course is the FaZe tournament. So let's start with the 2K. Yeah. Now, my friend, you obviously competing in the 2K. I was watching, however, I was watching from bed. I had a killer migraine. Unfortunately, that day it was like the worst day of my migraine.
Yeah, you were struggling for a couple days.
Yeah, I was struggling on your birthday when we were doing, and even through the live stream. And I think unfortunately the live stream made it worse just with the lights and stuff like that. And by the next day it was so bad.
Sorry, the podcast live stream.
Yeah.
Got you.
Your birthday live stream. It was rough.
Yeah.
It was really, really rough. So I was only kind of like listening for the most part to the tournament in a weird way, so it's very strange to like listen to stuff and not watch it, but you know, it is what it is. So I got the gist of what happened in the 2K. I'm actually currently watching it back in preparation for the FaZe tournament because I'm going to be hosting it, which I'm really excited
Welcome
about.
back.
Thanks.
LB Pizzle.
Thank you very much. And I'm very excited. Oh yeah, hold the phone because we're not in front of cameras right now. I've forgotten to talk about audio only today. Again, thank you, migraine. I forgot to talk about the coffee that we're trying right now, which actually is coming from Paper Street Coffee because they did send 7 bags. Yeah. It'd be rude not to.
We are not short of coffee in this household.
We're not, and while it's fresh, we thought we'd just continue going through them. This is actually the Tyler bag. It's a single origin, of course, Colombia Narino. It's a dark roast, and the notes are tangerine, red apple, cherry, and caramel. So I've been sipping on it a little bit before the podcast. It's actually very fruity. Like there is 3 fruit notes in it, so I'm not surprised. It's quite fruity. What do you think?
I think it's a little bit fruity, but if you go back to the Renegade bag that we tried last time, definitely stronger, this one, in my opinion. Yeah. You know, just ever so slightly more. We'll do our rating later on.
Oh yeah, we'll do the rating later.
Yeah, definitely enjoying it. Thank you to Paper Street for sending again.
Massive shout out to Paper
Street. We still have plenty more to go through, so we'll probably keep mentioning them. But
thank you, Gabe.
Always thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. So back to the 2K chat. So yeah, obviously a lot of preparation going on, and I got to hear a little bit of it. I'm currently watching through it, but from your perspective, I guess starting from wherever you want to start, it didn't end the best for you guys. Yeah. You got 3rd place and couldn't quite get over SSG. SSG clearly have been improving. Doesn't necessarily mean skill wise. I'm guessing it's more to do with like improving as a team, like how they want to, I guess, tackle obviously the new composition of your team and how they want to tackle OpTic, and obviously have managed to beat you, best you in that situation. But, you know, we kind of talked about this off the podcast. Wasn't the best day for your team. No. You know, we kind of saw that from OpTic in the 4K. Wasn't the best day for that team. Quite clearly, you know, teams go through bad days, right? We've seen that with OpTic. They come back into this 2K, they look great, they win the whole thing, right?
Yeah, they look really good in the 2K.
So it, like, not the best day for your team, kind of FaZe's turn to flop. So talk me through that flop part of that tournament, you know, for you guys. What happens when you are not having a good day? You know, why can we see teams maybe not do so well in certain situations where they have done well before?
Yeah. Man, you're harsh. Flop. Damn.
I've got to get the headlines.
I'm just joking.
Like, quite, well, you did.
Yeah.
I mean, you won the last one.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's like you did flop. You know what I mean?
I'm just joking.
Going from first to third is a big
a flop.
Flop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just hard, especially with Halo Infinite. I think it's harder to be consistent with, you know, all the online kind of stuff we've always talked about, ignoring all that, you know. We're playing against good teams. You know, we played against SSG, who really seem to be finding their groove, you know, from playing them. We played them in scrims like a couple of days before that tournament, played them in the tournament, and then even played them again this week in scrims. And yeah, they just seem to be finding their groove and playing well. And I think that when you're playing against a top 3 team, if you're not playing your game, that's kind of always going to be the result you can expect. You know, if you're not on point and on your game, and you know, it's hard to say specifics of like what went wrong and all that stuff without taking up probably about an hour, you know, of just gameplay talk.
Yeah.
Overall, it's just very simply, we didn't play our best. You know, we're trying not to think about it too much, worry about it too much. It happens. Figure out the stuff that you can use and implement to go forward and improve. But then other than that, just, you know, keep trucking along. Yeah.
Would you say that the mindset you had previously, you know, where we kind of took that kind of nutty, that crazy soundbite from you a couple episodes ago about, I didn't want to win. I don't want to lose, like whatever it was, like out of context, it sounds crazy. But, you know, do you still have that kind of mindset that went with losses or with moments where your team flops in a certain situation? Do you take the positives from that where you can learn and grow a little bit more, and it's kind of more of like a motivational kind of curve for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to go through stuff like this to improve. And, you know, for us, I think it's a good reminder, not that we ever like overlooked SSG, because I think in our minds it's been, you know, OpTic, us, SSG, top 3, implement who goes where on what day. But for the most part, obviously it's been us and OpTic in the finals for the large majority. So I think like a positive that we can definitely take away is like, and you know, I've mentioned it multiple times on the podcast of how good SSG actually were at Charlotte. So definitely just yet another good reminder. You know, we got a month until the LAN event. Hey, like every team's still really, really good. So if you're not going to play your best, like this is what's going to happen. I think it's a good kick in the butt to, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean it changes the outcome if we're going harder or playing better or whatever. You know, it might be that team's day.
Yeah.
But always good to have those checkpoints and references for sure.
Now let's quickly talk about G1. We touch upon them often on the podcast because it's a team that I always have my eye on. I really respect a lot of the players on their roster, and I have my eye on some of those kind of like star quality players who are still really young, and I'm excited to see their growth as well as players and as a team. They, in the lower bracket, they do fall short, but they're going up against Native White. They 3-0 Native White. Yeah. That's a pretty impressive scoreline, but then later on they don't manage to do so well. Talk to me about G1 and like what you kind of saw from the 2K that I might have missed while I had my eyes closed in a dark room and an ice pack on.
It's up with G1. I really didn't get to see their games at all. They lost. I could be wrong here, so pardon me if I am wrong. I believe that they lost in the winners bracket, or is it pool play?
Having a little look on FaceIt as we speak.
Yeah, the bracket's a little messed up. But
yeah,
I'm
not gonna lie. Very disappointed for someone who really needs the bracket right now. That the bracket was had stopped being filled in like really early Thursday.
Yeah,
like
they had lost to, if I'm not mistaken, to Proton. Like I said, sorry, apologies to everyone if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that that's who they had lost to.
Okay.
And then, you know, I just look at that kind of stuff and go, oh, you know, it happens online. Proton's a solid squad. Obviously, you look for, you know, you consider G1 to be a top team, so you certainly don't expect to see those underdog losses, but they still happen, you know, no matter what. And then, you know,
it was Proton.
Yeah, it was
right,
Proton.
3-2.
It was that, yeah. And then in the loser bracket side, though, I think, obviously they didn't make it into the top 4. We had played Native Red for top 3, but the definitely a good thing. Wait, did we play Native Red or did we play G1? Oh, I can't think of it now. Doesn't make a difference. The good thing is that I know we played Native Red. I'm just trying to think of where in the bracket we had played them. But the good thing for G1 is that even if you have that kind of rough loss, didn't see it, so can't say what might be good, what might have happened or whatever. I always just chalk it up to online. As bad as that is, you just kind of go, okay, it's an online series. Go next, see what happens. They had a really good bounce back to go and beat Native White. Obviously, Native White's an incredible team, top 4 at the last LAN event.
Yeah.
Beat G1 for top 4. So to go in 3-0 with them, I think is a good bounce back.
Yeah.
Even if they don't finish where they want to finish,
I think the knockdown of G1 to the lower bracket actually doesn't surprise me too much. I think Proton, being Posey Common, Breaking Shot, and Squally, I feel like they match up pretty well against G1 and the players on that team.
They give a lot of teams, and especially this season in particular, they've been giving a lot of teams a good battle. Yeah. Same thing with Avengers. Avengers has been putting up a really good fight against every top team. They knocked us out of a tournament. A lot of these teams. Yeah. I reference it of being you expect the top teams to win, but that upset potential is always there.
I feel like also you can take. I think you have a little bit more of an idea of what teams might be more dangerous than others, especially when they're in a rotation of scrims with top teams as well. The fact that Avengers are scrimming, top teams. Yeah. They are in that scrim rotation with OpTic, with you guys, with SSG, etc. So, are Proton in the scrim rotation?
We haven't
not so much because I don't really.
We haven't played Proton in a minute. It's just because we have everything's. You only have so many days, basically. Yeah, you only have realistically. We've had tournaments every week, so you have 5 days to scrim. If you want to take an off day, you have 4. So in that, it's we're trying to fit G1 and SSG, right? And then Native Red, Native White. You have to try to fill in. We try to fill it in with the top teams. First being the first ones, obviously. We haven't played them in a minute, but they definitely get good scrims. I've seen them scrimming good teams. Like I said, it's no surprise they battle. If you go to those scrim results, you'll definitely see some really good matchups. If you go to every past tournament, you see the same thing. They're putting up fights every time.
Yeah. Now we're gonna move on to the FaZe tournament, but I feel like the only thing that we can do before we talk about the actual FaZe tournament is talk about what implicates the FaZe tournament. Unfortunately, yeah. And it's on both of our minds because it's taken up basically our entire day. Yeah. Today. And that, of course, is the patch that is coming today as we are filming this, by the way, guys. So we always film the day before. We release the podcast because the podcast obviously releases early in the morning Thursday, so we always do it on a Wednesday. Yeah, so rough, isn't it? Because it's mixed emotions, right? It's there are definitely dubs in there. But overall, it can be very, very... I need to be careful with what I say here, but I would say it's more just the timing is always very, very difficult. Tough, yeah. I'll let you kind of take the reins with this one, but I got to say, even for me as a caster, it's difficult, right? Yeah. Because it's I have to implement these new things as well.
You have a day to learn whole new.
So I need to understand how things are going to be working, and I'll be honestly looking at how it performs with the teams playing on my screen. So it's a little bit different. However, it does implicate you in something we did learn literally mere probably... 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, was the
King of the Hill changes that we didn't know were coming.
Yeah, they're pretty big. So in the best way you possibly can, let's just talk about the implications that it brings.
Yeah, it's just complicated. I'm going to try to keep it as polite as possible. Obviously, I don't want to say anything too negative, so apologies to anyone that obviously... it's PJ, shut up, stop being negative. But just to answer the question on it, it's just complicated. A lot of the stuff that came out in the patch today is really good stuff. We're getting spike. I do feel bad. They're good changes for competitive. Let me say that. They're spike nades are getting nerfed. Dynamo nades are getting nerfed. I think I literally saw on Twitter that apparently spike nades are going to be pretty pointless. Could be wrong, but from what I've seen in some Twitter clips, it looks like it got nerfed pretty hard. we have the disruptor change, which is going to be no damage over time, which is going to be interesting. It's probably going to be, I think they increased the rate of fire, so it's going to be definitely a little strong. And then we have the King of the Hill changes. King of the Hill changes were going to be interesting already to begin with. They had changed it to be, what was announced was that it was going to be like there was no buffer time. So like when you get, like you get in the hill, out of the hill, there's like the bar's got to load for you to score.
Yeah.
It was going to be like instant. Like as soon as you hop in, you're scoring. So you were going to be able to like really get out, get in, get out, get in. It was going to change a lot, but make it, whether it's for the better or not, we would have seen.
Yeah,
obviously.
you figured that part out.
Yeah, you figure that part out.
Kind of like neutral ground.
Yeah, it's just you figure that out and the strategy with it. The hard part now is they changed the hill placement, which obviously complicates things even more.
Yeah, and just for everyone listening, hill placement, like where the hill actually spawns up. So like where it is actually placed on the map, just in case any listeners are fairly new to Halo Infinite.
So like on Recharge, I'll give one example. On Recharge, the first hill starts bottom mid. That's going to stay the same. And then how the second hill went to long haul, it's now at C plat.
Yeah.
So quite a big change. Yeah. Not like hey, we just expanded it a little bit. It's like that specifically.
No, it's a whole.
It's going to be a completely different. It's going to be a completely different game.
Totally different way to defend. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a completely different game mode. I feel mixed about the update. I tend to feel mixed about it because I feel like, trying to think how to put this nicely. It's just I feel like we just can't catch. It just feels like we kind of can't catch a break, where it's like, hey, we have this, and you obviously do not need to comment at all on this, but from a pro player's perspective, it's like, hey, here's this change that we've wanted for a long time, being like spike nades and stuff to be kind of tweaked. With that being said, I feel bad for the casual community. I've already said it. I think that this stuff should just be removed, not because what now in turns happens is like for spike nades, it ruins the casual side of the game because of what they needed to do for pro play. Totally unfair, like totally unfair. But going back to the point of the update and everything, it's just complicated. Just because we work really hard, and I mean we're talking 6 to 10 hour days of playing and VOD review and streaming and everything, and you're just trying to be your best possible self and have your team be your best possible unit. And stuff like this comes out, and it takes so long to 2.5 months of we haven't done anything since Charlotte other than these kind of like, I don't want to call them meaningless, but they're borderline meaningless for like, especially for top teams. They're pretty meaningless overall because of how it works for seeding and stuff. Like this one is really the one that matters the most for seeding for the top 3 teams, and it's like 2.5 months of just hard work and all that just to be like, all right, well now you have 3 weeks to figure it out. And I think that I try to, me, I try to be somewhat positive and try to be like, okay, well, at least, hey, like we're getting the changes that we want, but it's just taxing, it's just taxing, and it's frustrating, and it's, all the above, and like, and before Charlotte, like we had those updates come out. We had played for 2 months and our team already, we had played for a month with our team. We already had like a really small practice, and on the grand scheme of it, to the other top 3 that were there, being OpTic and SSG, how long they were together. I mean,
yeah.
And then the new patch comes out. I think it was like a week before the tournament, and you have weapon timings are different, and juggling the objective is different, and it's very, very, very rough. Super grateful. Love what I do. Love competing and everything. It's just frustrating.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be like boohoo me about it, but I'm sure people
I'm sure there are people who don't understand. I'm sure that people are like, oh God, he's complaining and he's a video game player.
Yeah.
Like that's what he does.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we don't really care about these people, do we?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to care about other people's opinions. The only opinions you should care about your peers and supporters and people who actually care about you, and in return you care about them.
Yeah.
However, I think your frustration is totally valid.
Yeah.
I don't think your frustration falls on deaf ears. So I'll play devil's advocate for a second, but I do feel like, the team behind certain things, I'm sure that they do understand whether or not things are in place for them to be able to actually dictate these things, such as the timing of things, and whether or not that's something internally they have to come together and try and fix themselves to align those things together, to be like, actually, this is not a great time to release this. Let's hold off, or let's revert, or let's actually play, do something where they can play on a previous patch, etc. So I'm sure it doesn't fall on deaf ears, and at the end of the day, they want the game to be as good as it can possibly be. And I think, considering everything, thank goodness there are some wins in there. I think Halo Infinite needs some wins right now. I think it's really important that we can focus on the positives, although it does get very frustrating, and I can appreciate that and I can understand that. But I think that's something that's really good with you, especially, is that you do, like, for for a lot of the complaining that you seem to do to the public, there's a lot of positivity that does pour out with you. And I know it can be difficult to see, but I think the fact that you can kind of move on and move past things, and you can also explain when something is right, I think is a really big step forward. So
appreciate it. I
appreciate you.
I try. Not perfect with it. I think the hardest thing for me is I just feel guilty. Like, I just, you and I have talked a bunch about this, where, like, I feel so fed up and annoyed and frustrated, and then, like, there's just this side of me that feels so guilty that I'm complaining about something that I am so fortunate to do. But then it's like, but if you don't complain about it, then no one's gonna know that it's a problem. But then if you do complain about it, you're the guy that complains about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I wish there are very, very, very parts of me
I think it's important to speak up when you feel a certain way or have an opinion on something. And I think it's just, like, about how you actually speak up. Like, the actual words you use, the tone that you take. And, I think starting off with a positive like you did is a big thing.
Tweet that I made.
It's like, what did you do right? What is a little bit frustrating? What can be done better? And it's just like, that's like almost like constructive criticism, isn't it? So I think that's a smart way to go about certain things. But I think there is a lot of wins in here in terms of the patch. It's interesting that the spike grenades potentially might be, like, kind of not
gonzo.
Really, because the fact that they're doubling the actual spikes. It's like interesting, isn't it?
This is the thing.
It's just the distance and the damage.
The thing when I initially saw the update, like, being on, like, not actual in game, but, like, when I saw the blog post about it, I always have the same mindset of, like, we'll see how it goes when we play. Because when you're reading this, and maybe you guys listening will kind of agree with me. Sorry if you hear a doggo barking.
Yeah, sorry about the doggies.
For the most part, and I'm sure a lot right now has it up and is looking at it. Some of the stuff that they post, sometimes I have no idea what it means. It's like they're changing units that I just can't explain. Not in a bad way to them. It's just obviously game development. And I don't understand that.
Yeah, so until you actually play through and you're like, oh, okay,
I need to play
now I
it
feel
to go,
feel it. Yeah,
like when it says, like, it's changing, it's increasing the spikes that come out or something like that. In my mind, I go, whoa, like, what the heck?
Because in my mind, I'm not joking, I read it. So it's the number of projectiles that explode out the spike grenades has doubled, while the distance and damage inflicted has been reduced. So, like, the way that literally, that is the only paragraph on spike grenades. That's it. The way that I would read that in my head without going on it would be, okay, so the damage is slightly less, but there's more of them. So wouldn't the damage be roughly the same? Like, do you know what I mean? In my head, I'm like, well, if there's more spikes that come out, there's
like
more.
If you get hit.
But do you know what I mean? So if you throw it into a closet, for example, like, and there's more spikes that are coming out, surely just about the same damage is done. I don't know, but that's my head.
Yeah, but that's where, and that's why I always hold off on my feelings majorly. Like, I'll have my initial thoughts, but my major feelings until I get to hop on and play, because until you play it, I mean, we're all gamers. If you're listening to this, you're probably a gamer. We have all played games where, you hit an update and you think it's gonna be one thing and it's something completely different. So we're not experts at the end of the day. I'm a pro in my field, but not in the sense of game development. So when they say stuff like that, I auto assume that, like, for what they're trying to do, I auto assume that, like, at least I have to hope that there's going to be like a balance. Like, okay, so you're reducing the range, but you're increasing the amount. There has to be a reason or give and take.
I'm guessing, like, if I'm thinking about it as logically as I possibly can with quite a small snippet of
just
information,
one little post,
is that maybe it's to increase the amount of people you can kind of damage with it. So like you might do less damage on one person than you would before, but because there's more spikes coming out, you might damage more people, but in a slightly less kind of damage in infused way. If that makes any sense. Like, for example, like rather than you being basically dead, and like a sneeze till you die, it would get like, I would say radius, but obviously the distance has decreased, but it's more so like maybe it does damage to more players.
Yeah, it's probably like with the decrease in range, the increase in spikes release is probably to counteract the fact that you're going to hit less people naturally. Like, you know, when you throw, like, for example, like when you're capping B Stronghold and people throw spikes in arcade, I mean, you're getting hit from, if you're in arcade, if you're B-Balk, if you're in music, sometimes if you're Red Room, depending on the nade, like you can eat that spike nade because of how ridiculous the range is. So like essentially, I guess with that range now being gone, with more coming out when thrown, potentially, I guess it just makes it so that more spikes can hit more targets if you're in the vicinity of it where it's thrown. So that makes sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think on that as well, a similar type of, you know, weapon in terms of grenades is a dynamo grenade, and that's a similar type of, again, patch, is the fact that it's range. A reduced error of effect and distance, but the number of shock damage pulses is increased, and the damage has increased for the shock. So that's an interesting one.
And they removed the slowdown effect.
They removed almost like a stunned effect on it as well, which is, I think, is really smart.
I do too.
Thank God, because I think it's like.
But see, this is a thing. This is where it's good for pro play. It's really bad for casual play. Yeah. And that's the part that I just, oh man, it drives me crazy. And we don't got to dive into it because I've already talked about it. Yeah. But it's just so, you know, I don't know.
But then how would you, in an ideal world, fix that?
You get rid of it in pro play.
You just take away.
It very simply doesn't fit pro play. And look, if you guys disagree, feel free. I'm not, you know, it's just my opinion. Obviously, I'd say that the large majority of pros would also agree. I just think that things that need to be drastically changed to fit pro play, like the slowdown effect, you know, something like that, something that's like really unique. People love it for like big team battle. You throw it at vehicles and it stuns the vehicle. It still might do that. So I could be wrong here, but you know, or like you're chaining it in big team battle and you're hitting multiple people. It's, you know, now it's gonna be harder and harder to do that. So I just feel like it's that kind of stuff, in my opinion, takes away from the fun that when I say casual, I don't mean in a bad way, but you know, the people who are playing the game on a more casual front, not competing. Competing wise, I'm excited. You know, if we have to deal with it and we have to play with it, then like, hey, at least it's hopefully going to be better. But yeah, it's just it's where it's very hard with pro play and you know, I don't know whether I hate the word casual, but pro play and standard play. You know, that trying to meet, when you're trying to meet for pro play, I think that it just gets so sticky.
In an ideal world, you would have it totally.
I'd have it,
completely separate.
Yeah, completely separate. You know, in Halo 2, Halo 3, 2 games where we completely thrived. We, you know, I think I've talked about it on the podcast, so I won't harp on it for the listeners too much. But Halo 2 and Halo 3 had completely different sandboxes to what was used and what was played with. And when you would play Halo 3. You were playing like MLG V7 settings, and like if you played Guardian, there'd be a Mauler bottom mid. But if you went to casual play, there was a gravity hammer, and you know, over in Blue Room there was a power drain, and it's like none of that made it into competitive play. But it's like,
because it doesn't make sense,
because it didn't fit. It didn't fit what MLG was doing and what pros got to test a lot and give feedback. Now it's just, I think that a lot of games are trying to do this, and I've never understood it, where they're just trying to blend the two together. They think that like if you can get the casual scene to like love your game, they'll love your esport too. In my opinion, of doing this a long time, that has never been the case. It's just a war of two communities that can't get along, rather than you have your style, we have our style, we both totally love the game.
Yeah.
And I've always just looked at it as like, if you reference the games that were the most successful, and there's some merit to saying like, hey, it comes down to time period, you know, like Halo 2
I understand that.
Halo 2 and Halo 3, if Halo 2 has many cheaters as it does, if Halo 2 is out and had as many cheaters as it have now, people hardly play it. There were so many cheaters back then, but you didn't have an option. You know, it was one of the few games to play. So there are some things with Halo 2 and Halo 3 where I do recognize that it's just a time period thing. Like, hey, it was the best of what we had. But I do think you can look at a lot of stuff for Halo and for Halo esports and reference like what worked then. How can we make it work now? And it's just my opinion. Not that it's 100% correct or 100% guaranteed. I just think that if you look at the large majority of HCS, we've tried to have that mix of both. And I would just argue that it just hasn't necessarily worked to the way that they want it to work. And that's okay. Like, hey, you tried it, in my opinion, and it's just not hitting the way that you want it to. Like, again, this is just strictly my opinion, but, you know, I don't know. That's where I'm like, you should probably try to switch it up, or because it's gotten to the point now where I just feel bad for the people who play the game. Yeah. You know,
I got to say that I do really agree with that. I feel like actually it might have brought the communities closer together because, like you said, you're actually button heads because you're fighting for two completely different worlds, which I think you can both respect the worlds that you want in game.
Oh, people hate us.
No, I know. That's what I mean.
I can't even be mad at
that. Like it's understandable. Like I don't know. I can't speak for the casual community, but like I'm sure they understand why you feel the way that you feel. They don't?
No, they don't. It's difficult.
That's really weird.
Well, no, it's because they don't because unless you're experiencing it, it's just so hard to acknowledge. Like, you know, like pro players figure out the way to use everything to max capability.
Yeah, but I just don't think it takes like a genius to understand that. Like to understand how pro players like think and act within the game. It's right there in front of you. Like you can watch any VOD you want.
Yeah, I just always think when it comes to that, it's like it's not it doesn't necessarily happen to them, so it's hard to experience. It's hard to understand the experience. You know, like when you're playing quick play and you get Street Stronghold, like no one's probably throwing spike nades across the map that kill you and, you know, whatever. And it's like, but you know, if you hit ranked play and once you hit Onyx, that's what's going to happen. So like the pro critique is like, hey, this is like not the most competitive. Not that it's not competitive, but not the most competitive. Don't think it should be a thing, you know. And I think it's just where people play different games.
No, I know that, but that's what I'm saying is like I'm not bashing that people play it differently.
No, but you should be able to get it.
I don't understand how people don't get that. There's
where we're coming from,
like that there should actually be a common.
Yeah.
There should be I wouldn't go as far as say common enemy. It's not that. No, it's more just like a common want to separate the two, if that makes any sense. Yeah. But, you know, it is what it is. And, like, you can't make people understand certain things. But I think it's just, like, I think the fact that you, as a, you know, absolute top of the top level pro can sit here and say, I get why they're frustrated and upset. And, like, I would be too if I was them. And I understand it. But, like, we're happy. Makes complete sense. Yeah. Like that's understanding. That is respect. That is understanding for a different side of the game that you play. So, you know, I think that's hopefully like an example, like in a step to maybe even just like join forces as communities in the same game. Like just being able to actually get along with one another rather than fighting each other because won't you want happen. Two different things. But
won't happen, unfortunately.
But with that being said, like discussing obviously the patch notes, let's talk about the FaZe tournament coming up. Yeah. It's in 2 days. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot to learn.
One day. If you're listening to this on Thursday.
True.
If you're listening on Friday, it's going on right now. Tune on in. Yeah. Or Saturday.
If you're listening on Friday, you're late. Yeah. You're late. Get off this and tune into my bloody broadcast, will you? So obviously FaZe tournament coming up. This is the big one. The most money you've played for in the past couple of months.
Yeah, $15,000.
And, you know, another thing is it's your org putting it on. So there's a lot for you guys to play for in particular for your team. And also to kind of, I would guess, shush the haters again. Because anytime people kind of do less than than people expect.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
there's
well,
always
we're
haters that
expected
come
to go
out of the
there.
woodworks.
Yeah. We're expected to go out and win.
Yeah,
so when
100%.
we don't, it's like a whoa, like what's going on?
Yeah.
What's wrong?
I mean, look at OpTic.
Yeah.
Bless them.
Oh,
My
yeah.
God, and that 4K. I mean, yeah, they had a rough day.
Rough day.
You know,
and
it is what it
people
is.
are freaking out and whatever.
I know, and
yeah.
it's like, well, you got to remember, you know, there's a lot of things going on, and it is online, and there's a lot of things that you can say to it, but at the end of the day, teams are allowed to have a bad day.
Mhm.
It just happens, and hopefully it'll make you stronger. And they did bounce back and
Yeah.
win the next tournament, so you can't say too much
Yeah,
about it there.
absolutely.
And I think that is what your fans are expecting you guys to do, right? Is to bounce back. So obviously we've got to learn about what the patch looks like and how that's going to kind of fit and slot into your gameplay as a team.
Yeah.
I know that you and Royal 2 are definitely happy about the Disruptor patch.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
that's going to help you guys, regardless of like how janky that one's gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely improvement for you.
It's going to be really strong. I'm happy about it in the sense that
Yeah.
I wasn't able, Roto and I both, especially in online tournaments, aren't able to use the Disruptor because, especially if you're on high ping, I assume it's because of desync. I won't act like I know specifically. I assume it's because of desync. The damage over time effect never actually worked. Or hardly ever worked.
Yeah.
Whereas now with it being removed, obviously the hope is we should be able to use it a little bit more. But I think it's going to be stronger. And that means other people are also going to be using it against us. so on
But
the,
it's even. Everyone's got the same disruptor.
it's even,
use
but
now,
I'm
mate.
still on, we're still
I know.
in online tournaments, not on the greatest ping. So you got to rely on bullet registration then and stuff like that. So regardless, I think the cool thing with the Disruptor change is just I don't know what the word would be, the sad part of not being able to use it because of the damage over time at least is removed.
Yeah.
In
an ideal world,
I like the damage over time.
Exactly. In an ideal world,
it made it unique.
Just so everyone's clear, in an ideal world, it would have been great to still have the damage over time and that it actually worked.
Yeah.
But in a world where there's compromise, the damage over time is gone right now. Who knows? It could come back in a different patch when it actually works.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see. But obviously a lot of different things to implement as well. Like a lot of things to learn. Like I know in scrims tonight, you boys just going like, okay.
The nades are going to be a big one.
Oh my God, so many
the new
changes
hill,
to the nades.
new hills. Like I said, the getting in and out thing was already going to be a little bit of a thing to navigate, and then just now completely different placement, completely different strategies.
Different factors,
Nades are changed, so Lord knows, your strategies that you had with the spike nades before probably ain't working anymore.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a long day.
It is gonna be
a long 2 days for your boy.
Yeah, it is. It is, and me.
Yeah.
Because I won't be able to come down and kind of just like poke my head around and just see how you're doing and whatever. But I'll be in a different room, having to move my setup to a whole different location. It's like the good old times.
Yeah.
When I was doing the pro like series.
Pro series, you're upstairs.
I was upstairs in my
downstairs.
My little green room where I'd mask and taped material to the windows because I didn't want to get blinds. I decided to mask and tape. Oh, don't ever do that, guys. Don't ever mask and tape your walls. Not a good idea.
From bad adults to you.
From two, actually one bad adult at the time. I just couldn't be bothered. Like it was just like the room, it's just, I don't know, it became very quickly just like
to be fair,
just a tech room,
no,
didn't
but
it? Just like why
first
is
of all,
this, that?
You're giving yourself a hard time because first of all, it was when we did that, and like you did that, whatever.
Yeah.
It was in 2020.
I love how you want to share the blame. Thanks.
Yeah, I want to share the blame with you. It was 2020. You had never done a home broadcast before.
Yeah.
You were doing Call of Duty at the time, and it was like trying to figure out how you're going to get this to work. And it was like a panic moment of like, it was like a panic build of like, we moved in just before like everything was shutting down and everything.
They were like, well, CDL sent me stuff and they were like, here's some blackout material. And I was like,
the material didn't,
okay, but what, like, how do I put it up?
Yeah.
Like, how do I put it up? So I mask and tape it to the window. Like, you can't mask it to the window. You have to mask and tape it to the wall.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not your fault.
That thing was falling down every week.
Yeah.
So I had to remask and tape it. Now it looks like I like I was trying to break out of an asylum or something. Like it's
No,
awful in there.
You just touch it up. All good.
Yeah,
All
there's
good.
like dinks out of the wall. There's like holes in the walls from like where lights, you know, I've been moving lights here, there, and everywhere, putting green screens back up, and it's just dinked the walls, you know. Oh my god, it is it's rough in there. So need a lot of spackle, some paint, some God knows what else for the wall around the windows. Like it's pretty bad. Reframing.
Some good music.
Good music to get it done.
Yeah, just get in there and get it done. All
yeah,
good.
but I don't think I'm going to go in there for the FaZe tournament. I think I'm going to go in my bedroom.
Yeah.
I say my bedroom, our bedroom.
Yeah. I also am there.
You're also in the bedroom sometimes, yeah. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to being back on the broadcast. I've been slowly going insane. This podcast has kept me sane though.
Yeah.
You know, kept me above.
I admire how much, I've told you this before, I admire how much you really focus and keep on it, even if you're not, even if you're not working that week or whatever. You're watching scrims every day, and
yeah, well, I'm not really watching scrims every day.
You have.
I watch all of the tournaments. Yeah. I check on the scrim results.
You're not watching as many scrims now, but that's because we've been playing the same thing for a long period of time, to where I don't really
need to watch scrims yet, and I especially don't need to watch scrims now until, well, I didn't.
Yeah, now with the patch, you'll tune in, for sure.
But yeah,
people also don't really, people don't stream them and stuff either.
That much, yeah. I'll tune into OpTic though.
They don't stream anymore.
No, I know, but like I would have.
You would have, yeah.
Tune into OpTic. I mean, it's been a long time since Charlotte.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
a long time.
I know. Listen, I'm just trying to give you credit here, girl. You're amazing.
I appreciate that.
You're amazing.
But yeah, I'm very excited to be back on. It's gonna be really, really good. I am very intrigued to watch everyone kind of settle down with the patch, like as it's live, like as it's happening. It's gonna be figuring it out. It's probably gonna be our main talking point.
You're gonna see people like cap and B stronghold, and like someone's gonna go throw a spike nade. It's just not gonna do anything. You know what I mean? It's gonna be,
or we'll see a rotation to the wrong place.
Oh, for
as
the
well.
hill.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll go, oh snap, whoops.
Yeah.
I'm sure some teams it's muscle memory.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like you just go. It's like you've done it so many times now, so it's like, yeah, that'll be a fun one to work out tonight.
Yeah.
In your scrim.
Oh yeah, can't wait.
So yeah, but like it's going to be very, very interesting. Are there any teams that you really expect to kind of have to turn up the heat a little bit in this tournament? Because I mean, to name a few that haven't been quite placing like perfectly, like Complexity after what they achieved in a tournament or two back. Complexity, you expecting them to knock our socks off again, and they are in your pool.
I just think with this stuff, it's always hard to know. We played against them this week. They played great. I think we split games with them for the most part, so they were playing great. I think we're not necessarily firing on all cylinders right now. We're trying to figure that out, but you just never know at the end of the day with these things. So I don't know.
Yeah. So talk me through your pool, because you actually said to me today that you have a competitive pool, and you're actually excited about that for your team.
Without looking it up, I believe we have Shopify, Complexity, and Proton. Mm-hmm. Which I think is a pretty good pool for us, because I think we've been struggling a little bit with our online play. It's funny because I feel like we're getting more and more on the same page, but it's just something about I always feel like this happens, and it's not to make excuses, because I think we're just struggling a little bit, but I've always said this, where the longer that you don't have a LAN event, you're bound to hit a slump at some point, if that makes any sense, because you're just playing online and doing the same thing over and over and over again, where it's really hard to stay super locked in every day, all day. You know what I mean? So I think for us, we're really trying to figure that out on how we get back to, hey, look, we got a month. Let's get back to firing on all cylinders and playing our best. I think that our pool is really good for us, because those are really good teams, and should be really good regardless of the result of wins and losses. It'll be hopefully we win. But,
I think it's just nice to not have a slow pool.
Yeah, it should be a really competitive pool,
which is nice.
Because we need to be locked in, from start of the tournament to the end of the tournament, get locked in. So yeah.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree more with it. I think I just want to know, and just so the viewers at home know, I already know, but I want the viewers at home to understand, the lead up now to the major is is definitely underway.
Yeah.
Right. We still got quite a few days. It's something like, still plus 20.
Yeah, it's like
days.
it's like over 3 weeks.
Yeah. So we still got quite a bit of time.
It's not plus.
But
is it plus 20?
yeah, it's like 23 or 20 something.
2nd.
Yeah, it's still like 20 something days. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah. What am I saying? Yeah, it's like 20 something days. Yeah.
But
just over 3 weeks.
Yeah, just over 3 weeks. So still like a decent amount of time, but like enough time to really like set things in motion. Like, even new things, for example, like a patch.
Yeah.
So there's still a little bit of time here, but how important is this FaZe qualifier? Just so for people at home understand like how important this is, what's on the line. Like I already know because I'm going to have to go over it this weekend on broadcast, but for you specifically, like what are your big things that you're taking away as a player?
It's tough. They're important in the sense that you want a good seed, but the way that they've done it is like all of the previous, like we're pretty much guaranteed to be a top 3 seed basically, because I don't think anyone can catch us in points. Like in terms of, I think SSG might be able to if they were to like win it and we didn't do well, but the way that it works for the DreamHack tournament is that if you win this event and get second place, you are first and second place for the tournament. So it matters in the sense that like whoever wins it is, again, for your points don't matter. Whoever wins it is first
like,
seed.
Hey,
so
it overrides.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the key thing. It's an override.
Yeah. So it's just interesting in that it matters a lot because you want to be that top seed. But at the same token, because after that top 2, it goes by points, realistically, you don't really drop off super far. It's not like it's like, hey, what you place is, if you were to get 16th, you're now the 16th seed. It's not like that at all. So it definitely matters. You want to be a good seed. You want to be a good, you want to be the number 1 going into it. But on the same token, the LAN event's what matters. To win the thing, you got to beat every team. Doesn't make a difference. Yep. If we're a top 4 seed, say we just get a top 4 seed regardless of the end result, you pretty much know who you're playing, unless a team comes out and wins this one and somehow gets first, a team that isn't OpTic or SSG, which could happen, you never know, right?
Say G1.
G1 Cole got top 2, what if they do that again, right? So it'll be interesting to see if it's the same results as it, like, let's say typically is, like the top 3 is the top 3. It won't matter that much because it's just the same old heading into the LAN event, whatever. But it'll be interesting that if there is that upset and like a complexity comes against top 2, that shakes it up a lot. So it definitely matters. It's definitely the most important one. But like I said, to win the LAN event, you got to beat every single team. Yeah. I
think it is really interesting for that exact reason. Like an upset is actually going to be a huge upset. Like it is going to mean a lot to that team if they manage to do it. So I think that override is such an interesting kind of factor going into this tournament, and also why the patch is a very, very
they primed it up for everyone.
They primed it up for everyone. They're heading into the tournament as well, because like some teams might view that as the golden ticket. Some teams might be like, right, this is our chance to like get ahead. Like play like literally non-stop every single hour of every single night, and then like know it like the back of their hands, and then go into the tournament hoping to have a head start against top teams and cause an upset. There might be a lot of strategy like that, you never know, but I'm excited to kind of see it unfold and see what happens and what's going to be going on. But we're going to wrap things up right now, and we're going to wait and see what happens post the weekend. So we'll be checking back in with you guys next week. Let's rate the coffee. The Tyler bag, PJ, I'll let you start.
8.5. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
It's a darker roast, like I said. Been really, really enjoying the Paper Street coffee that we got. We've only had the 2, so we'll see how it keeps going. But the 2 that we've had, I really enjoyed.
Me too. I gotta say, I'm gonna give this one an 8.1. I really like it. I don't like it as much as the Renegade that we tried, but I still really do like it. I definitely taste every single note. So for that, I wanted to score it highly. I do really like fruity coffees, but I gotta say that was hella fruity for me. Like really, really fruity. I do like it.
This one?
Yeah.
Really?
I found it really fruity.
More than the Renegade though?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I found it way more fruity than the Renegade. There is 3 fruit notes in this.
Must be the way that I've made it for myself or something.
It tastes like a toffee apple in a kind of strange way. I mean, to be fair, it is tangerine, red apple, cherry with
that,
caramel. So it's like toffee
that,
apple.
though.
You know what I mean? I know
Yeah.
you do. I know you do.
I got a sweet
But
tooth.
a solid 8.1 for me. So it's a pretty high score for this bag
You
as
feel
well.
like it's a, like you can tell it's a darker roast though, no?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really
Okay.
bold and like
Yeah.
rounded. Yeah, it's really nice though. And you brewed it perfectly, babes.
Thank you.
Yeah, perfectly.
Thank you so much.
Well, Peach, best of luck in
Thank
the
you.
tournament.
Excited.
I already know that you individually are going to kill it.
Thanks, baby.
But wishing you the best of luck. Not that you really need luck. Your talents.
I do need luck.
Your talent is
playing on a
plenty
brand
enough.
new
Your
patch.
talent's plenty enough, darling.
We're playing on a brand new patch. I need all the luck
Yeah,
I can
maybe
get.
maybe in this situation, maybe you do actually need luck with the brand new patch coming out. So good luck.
Hope you just pray that my spike nades get the kills that I think they're supposed to get.
Yeah. Just throw a couple more in there.
Yeah.
Just throw both.
Yeah.
You know, just chuck them both in and pray.
Yeah.
See what happens. But thank you guys so much for listening. Let us know what you think of everything. There's like kind of an information dump, this podcast. So discussing so many different things and concepts and ideas. So let us know what you think of the patch. Let us know what you think of the tournament coming up. You know, what pool group is going to be your favorite group, you know, going into it to have a look at and see unfold. Predictions maybe as well for the FaZe tournament.
I always say this too, and I say this to you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take offense to me giving my opinion on the game and stuff. If you view it differently, I already kind of said this. I love you still. Doesn't change
anything.
You know what I mean? I always feel like when I'm,
but also be kind with your opinion.
Yeah.
PJ is very kind with his opinion and he's very understanding. So like,
don't roast me, please.
Yeah, let's not get nasty. But
no,
you can 100% have a different opinion.
Yeah, I only say that because I feel bad when I'm harping on it, and I feel like people, if you disagree, you're like, you don't know what to say, kind of thing. You know what I mean? I don't want anyone to ever feel that way.
It's a free space here to explore conversations that you want to explore.
Yeah.
And
you get what I mean?
It's just the way you say it.
Yeah.
Just say it in the right way.
No, but you get what I mean. Like I don't ever want anyone to feel like they're not allowed to.
You're very sweet
to disagree. Like if we're saying give us your thoughts on the patch, I don't want you to be like, why? I don't want to.
Yeah, but when we say for example, like when we say give us your thoughts on everything, but make sure they agree with us.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I mean. No.
Yeah.
We just have a good discussion, and that's the thing I love. I always say this.
It's a healthy discussion.
It is. That's what I was gonna say. That's what I love about our community, and we appreciate you guys.
That's why I'd say our arguments are healthy discussions.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, with that, we'll leave you. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend watching the tournament or doing whatever you are doing, whether that be with family, friends, and then catching up on the tournament later. Please let us know what you've been up to. We love you so much, and thank you again for supporting our podcast, and we'll catch you next week. And as always,
stay on the
grind.